Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome back to another Once in a Wild live stream, which we usually do on Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please watch the show tonight for some updates about us and what to expect for future plans for the live stream, as well as upcoming events for spooky season that are public events that you can attend. And also don't forget to book us early for your own private events in October, November, and December. That could be something spooky or it could be something for any occasion: birthday parties, classrooms, libraries, nursing homes, corporate events, and much, much more. Once in a Wild is a mobile zoo based in South Texas. We are in San Antonio, Texas, and we service San Antonio, of course, and surrounding cities. And tonight we're back in action with a live stream. We're going to be meeting some really colorful animals that are in our collection. We have all kinds of different animals. If this is your first time viewing the live stream or any videos by us, hello, my name is Amanda. I'm the founder and owner and animal specialist here at Once in a Wild. And we're a mobile zoo, like I said, and we have all kinds of critters. We've got reptiles, we've got creepy crawlies of all types. We've also got things like furry animals, mammals. We have feathery animals, birds, and many, many more. So if you guys are excited to be here, I hope you are. We're going to be meeting 3 animal species tonight, which is what we usually do. It's just going to be a regular show tonight. No major changes for the live stream tonight, except to show you some colorful critters. So I think it's time to go ahead and just get started. Once again, welcome back to Once in a Wild Wednesday, where we do live streams on Wednesday evenings. Hello, Ricky is over on Instagram. We're actually going live on Instagram on a separate device, and the rest of the stream is simultaneously streaming on Facebook in 3 different places: LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, as per usual. And I promise eventually we'll get over on TikTok and do some more lives over there. I don't know how yet. I don't know if we're gonna just get an extra device to go live over on TikTok. We are on TikTok, so make sure and go and follow us if you haven't already. If you're on TikTok, that's my favorite actual platform to just play with and look at on my off time. It's a lot of fun. So we do have a TikTok. It's at Once in a Wild Zoo, and Instagram is at Once in a Wild Zoo, and all the rest are at Once in a Wild. At Once in a Wild was taken on the other 2, so you understand. But you can find all of our links below. That is one great and free way to help us out, is by following us and subscribing to our social medias, of course. And that is all free, of course. If you do want to do a little bit more, we also have a Patreon. And if you want to donate to our little zoo, that is especially appreciated. You can do so via Venmo, Cash App, and we even have a PayPal and an Amazon wish list. All of that is in the description link. Linked in the descriptions, of course, down below, and most of our social media, and it's on our website as well. If you go to onceinawild.com and find our donation section /button/page, that will take you to all your options. Every little bit helps, you guys, and we do have lots of mouths to feed around here. And the very best way you can actually help us out is by either buying some merch. We have some fun Once in a Wild merch over on the website as well. That's a lot of fun. I should have brought some of the new merch that we have, maybe next time. And also, because I do have some, yay! One thing you can buy is stickers. Here's one thing that we do have on the website, is cute little stickers, so you can order those on for yourself. But we also have t-shirts and clothes and all kinds of things, bags and shower curtains and all kinds of fun things that you can actually have in your own wild collection at home. But the best and my very favorite way to help us out is by booking your own animal encounter. So that is actually what we do. So Once in a Wild is a mobile zoo. We travel all over South Texas, but we also can bring the zoo to you virtually if you happen to live outside of our neck of the woods, right? So you can schedule one of those if you happen to live outside of our travel zone, because we can't go everywhere yet. Not yet, maybe someday. But if you happen to live over here near San Antonio or Austin, we can travel to you. So we could come visit your classroom. We're great for all ages as far as that goes. We can visit a library. We can come over for a special occasion like a birthday party or a quinceañera or something fun like that. Or we can visit for animal therapy. We actually specialize in traditional animal therapy and exposure animal therapy, which could be to help you conquer some of your animal fears, because we have a lot of creepy crawlies around here and it is spooky season. So lots and lots of creepy crawlies are being booked right now for October and even beyond. For example, We have an owl, we have snakes, we have lizards, we have frogs, we have bugs, invertebrates, spiders, all kinds of things that actually categorize into a Harry Potter type of theme. So that is a great choice for easy, honestly, theme to kind of have to coincide with our animals that we have. In fact, I was just on the news today at midday. It was at 1 o'clock today, our time, and we were on live TV again. I do that a lot. And we were over on our local news, and we were talking all about Harry Potter themed animals. So I had our Eurasian eagle owl, Rango. We had one of our bearded dragons. We have two of those, but we had one of them on the show. Her name is Debbie. She was going as a Hungarian horntail, of course. And then we had Frances the frog, an African bullfrog, but she kind of looks like a toad, or what I call not so chocolate frog, right? And then we also have, let's see, that's three. And then we had our snake Slytherin. His name is Slytherin. His actual name is that. And he's a California king snake. But we have all sorts of different types of snakes that can kind of fit into the Harry Potter theme of like the basilisk or House Slytherin, right? You can bring all sorts of snakes to your Harry Potter themed event. Our most popular snakes, of course, are the holdable ones that make sense for photos. Most of our snakes are holdable and just fine to touch and hold, by guess even. But the bigger ones end up being impressive in photos. So like our big boa constrictor David, he's one of our most popular for that. And then we also have our ball pythons and Slytherin, the California king snake. But we have many other snakes that are kind of on the smaller side that you can totally hold and touch as well. Just as good, just a little bit smaller, right? So we got snakes. One was on the live news today on the news live. This is also live. Hello. And then the last animal was one of our tarantulas. Blondie, the Arizona blonde tarantula, one of the largest tarantulas in our collection and super easy to handle as well. So those tarantulas are typically on display, but older kids that are very responsible and calm, and also adults can actually hold some of our tarantulas. We have two tarantulas that I feel comfortable letting people hold carefully. Tarantulas are very, very delicate, so we're very careful about that. We hold them over something in case they decide to get off of our hands or anything like that. But anyway, so we have all sorts of animals that will actually make sense for a Harry Potter theme. Of course, Halloween, of course, but also really anything. If you just like creepy crawlies, we actually offer a little bit of a discount for a show and tell with creepy crawlies. And then there's always our meet and greet where you get 5 animal choices of any animals to come on out for a casual encounter. A meet and greet can be like a photo op, or it can just be something casual where you're coming up and you're petting our giant rabbit or whatever animals you pick. As long as they're pettable animals, you can pet the animals that attend. Typically, for any type of encounter, as long as the audience is smaller and there's time to do so, we will allow you to pet or touch the animals that are pettable or touchable or holdable. If you pick all animals that are hands-off, then you're not going to be able to do those things, but you can actually see the animals very close regardless, and you can take photos with the animals or of the animals. That's never a problem. Photos are always welcome at any of our encounters, but a lot of times people just want us to stand there and maybe just casually interact with the guests or you and have a photo opportunity instead of like a presentation. We offer all kinds of different stuff. Check out our past live stream video, which is on YouTube and Facebook and some of the other platforms too, I'm sure, where you can go and see the Q&A live stream that we did. I actually covered a lot of our frequently asked questions, or FAQs. Q&A. This is a Q&A, Amanda. Q&A is every day. I meant FAQs. Go check out our FAQ live stream that we did not that long ago. That's actually going to offer a lot of answers to frequently asked questions, obviously. We're also working on a page for that on our website. So be patient with us. Things take time. Things take a lot of effort. We're a small business, and we do our very best. Hello, Doodlebugs Animal Adventures. It's so nice to see you. I haven't talked to you in a long time. We miss you. I hope you're doing well and as busy as us, because we're very busy too. But what else did I want to talk to you guys about? Before we get started with our animal encounter, I always like to give you guys updates. Don't forget, we do have public events coming up. Hi! We do have public events coming up. Join us over on Instagram if you're not on any of the other platforms or you'd rather be on Instagram. That's totally fine. But look for our website, onceinAwild.com. If you go over to basically, I think it's just on the homepage now. Go to the little dates. that show you what public events are coming up. We always post the live stream on there as well. And coming up specifically, we've got a couple of big ones. So on the 29th and on the 30th, we've got two big events. And I believe there's one more that's going to be a smaller, limited, a couple hours in the morning. And I can't remember what day that is. If Ricky wants to look it up for me, he can tell me in the comments. And that would be helpful. I'm ready. I'm listening. I'm looking. But on the 29th is going to be the Bippity Boppity Boo Fest, our annual Halloween event that we collaborate with Once Upon a Party each and every year, hopefully forever and ever. It is a fun and fabulous and very elaborate trick-or-treating event for all ages, but mostly geared towards families, and it's not scary. This is not a haunted house. This is not a something that's going to spook your children and scare them or startle them. This is very family-friendly. We're going to have Halloween-themed decor going on and things like that. We're going to have Harry Potter characters, and we're going to have, of course, right? And we're going to have Disney villains and Disney princesses and Disney characters that they are providing. And then Once in a Wild, which is us, is going to be there providing a petting zoo service, which is another one of our services that you can book privately if you would like. But we're going to have a big old petting zoo with all the petting zoo animals, which includes ducks, guinea pigs, our giant rabbit, bearded dragon, and tortoises. And that's going to be one thing that we're going to offer there. And in another section, we're actually going to offer a really awesome Harry Potter photo opportunity with lots of Harry Potter themed animals, including, of course, the Eurasian eagle owl. But also we're going to be bringing a white ferret who's going to be going as Malfoy, right? From Harry Potter. And so that's Thor, our ferret. He's going to be there for photo ops. Harry Potter himself is going to be with us in our photo opportunity, of course, and we're going to be dressed in Harry Potter outfits. So if you guys want to come over and take photos with the animals or with us, that would be a lot of fun. And we're going to have all kinds of other creepy crawlies and fun, like snakes and a bullfrog and bugs and all kinds of things. You don't have to touch or hold the animals unless you want to, and some of them will be touchable and holdable, especially over at the petting zoo, but also over at the Harry Potter photo opportunity. We're going to have some snakes that you can hold if you want to. We're going to have a lizard over there that you can hold if you want to, and then you can stand next to and nearby the other animals that are more hands-off. But we will be there for you to help you get the best photo that you can possibly get. So I'm very happy to have that event coming up on the 29th. That's going to be from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So it's a multi-hour, and you have to get your tickets ahead of time. So please head over to our website, onceinawild.com. You're going to see the description or the date of the 29th there, and you're going to click it, and that will take you to the link, which is the Botanical Garden, which is actually where it's going to be at this year. Again, the Botanical Garden here in San Antonio. It is a San Antonio event, so it's only in San Antonio. It's not outside of San Antonio. It's in the San Antonio Botanical Garden, of course. But if you're in Austin, you can travel to San Antonio, right, for the night. It is on a Saturday evening. Most people are available then. But go over to that button, click that. It'll take you to the link, and you'll be able to see where to get your tickets. There are multi-levels of different ticket options. The least expensive one you'll see at the top, and then it goes up from there. And you'll get different perks and benefits to coincide with the different options of your tickets. Obviously, there's different like VIP and things like that, and VIP plus and plus, I'm sure. But they have all sorts of different options. That is not being put on by us. It's actually being put on by Once Upon a Party, which is a company we work with a lot, and they're awesome. And then we have Botanical Garden, who is actually hosting that over there. And then we're just there for animal services. So we're very excited about that one. So we can't wait to see you at that one. And then we also have on the 30th, we're going to be back at the San Antonio Market Square. I believe that's going to be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we're going to be there for Dia de los Muertos. I don't think that's the actual day. Is it? Tell me if it is or not. I can't remember. I know they're celebrating all weekend, so we may be missing the day of. Ricky, tell me if that's Dia de los Muertos or not. But I know that's what we're celebrating that weekend. I think they're just doing a festival both days. Since we're at the other festival the day before, we cannot attend Saturday, so we're going to be there on Sunday with some of our animals out there for a free meet and greet with the animals that we choose to attend. So it's going to be surprise animals, but I promise you will love it. It will be a variety of different things. A lot of times when we plan our animal encounters that are like that, we have to think about weather. So if it's in the middle of the day like that, 11 to 2, we have to make sure it's not too hot for the animals. And right now it's October. That may sound nice and cool for some of you northerners or people from out of the country, but we are in South Texas. So a lot of times it's actually pretty hot. So we have to just keep an eye on the weather. So on the 30th, when we're out at the San Antonio Market Square and it's midday, it might be still kind of warm. So we will see what animals we can bring, or for all we know, it could be cold. So we'll see what animals we can bring in the cold or the hot. So we will do our best, but there's always something you can at least touch, and usually something you can hold, certainly things that you can take photos with, certainly things that you can see up close. And we're there too, and we're pretty nice people, and we answer your questions about the animals and whatnot. So those are two big ones. Ricky has reminded me of some more. So Kids Fest is coming up in November. That'll be posted shortly. So there's going to be school discovery days here in San Antonio. Kids Fest, by the way, is in New Braunfels, Texas, which is just north of San Antonio. So also pretty much local. School discovery days are going to be, there's 3 of those coming up that we're going to be at, and those are going to be in San Antonio as well. Yes, the Dia de los Muertos. If I say that too fast, I don't say it correctly. I don't speak Spanish. I just say things in Spanish sometimes. But that is the 30th that I just mentioned. Morgan's Wonderland. So Morgan's Wonderland is a all-inclusive theme park, basically, or is it a theme park? What do they call themselves? It's a park with rides and things. Fun park for anyone. So they're accessible to people in wheelchairs, people with disabilities, things like that. It's an awesome company as well. Morgan's Wonderland has hired us for the holidays, so November and December. So those dates will all be posted. We also do a pretty good job. Ricky does a pretty good job, wink, of posting all of that on our social media as well. So if you don't follow us, you may not remember to check all that out. So make sure and follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook if you have Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn if you have that. YouTube, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, stop what you're doing and go hit subscribe. We need some more subscribers. We don't have enough of those on YouTube. I know we don't upload a ton of stuff other than live streams, but we have so many live streams. So we need to make sure and get some more subscribers over there. And then, of course, we've got Twitch, and we've got good old Twitter, which Twitter is the one I use the least, but we still go live over there. But for sure, Instagram, you wanna get updated over on Instagram. That's where we do most of our updates, and Facebook if we have Facebook. YouTube is where we need the most help. Twitch as well, and TikTok. Don't forget TikTok, my favorite, right? But we don't do a whole lot with TikTok right now, but we will get better about doing that. Now, speaking of which, I want to talk to you about one more thing before we introduce some animals. I want to make sure that you guys are aware we have made a decision about our live streams. Now, we are going to continue to post every Wednesday. That is the plan as of now, to post every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But those might be reruns for a while. So what we are going to do is plan to go live once a month. And I think it's going to be the first Wednesday of every month is when we actually live stream on all the platforms that we're on right now. Maybe even I'll go live stream on TikTok as well. We'll figure out a way to do that too, maybe with an extra device. But we will do that once a month, probably the first Wednesday of the month. So we just need to settle down a little bit because we're very busy right now. I don't really have a ton of time, and I need to do other things. It's just the way it is. So I hope you guys understand that we are very busy now. We didn't used to be as busy when we started doing the live streams. When we first started doing live streams, we actually live streamed. We live stream 3 times a week. Actually, we were doing those. And that was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then we decided to just go to Wednesday. And we changed different times to see what would be best for everybody. But not everybody, people are getting out more. So we're doing more in-person stuff. I do not want to exclude you guys that are virtual only or you're outside of our region. Don't forget that you can always book a Zoom with us. Anybody can do that all over the world as long as you have Zoom and the internet and a computer or phone or a device of some sort to watch a Zoom. Those are still going to be available as long as people still want them. That is totally fine. We do a few every now and then, but most of our encounters nowadays are in person, and we're super duper busy, and I just can't be in 100 places at once, and I only have so much energy at this ripe old age of 38. So to be honest with you, we just decided to kind of just do a little bit less, but we will still probably post reruns every Wednesday. So you'll still have something to watch. And it might be new to you. It just won't be live every single time. I hope you guys understand. And thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for following us. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being so supportive. And thank you for any donations or anything at all that you would like to help the animals with. We do have also donation abilities before I get started here. We've got Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and Amazon wishlist as well on our website too. Venmo and Cash App are at Once in a Wild or $once in a wild. wild. 38 is the new 28. Thank you so much. That is so nice. I just turned 38 not too long ago in September. I just had a birthday. So thank you very much. So let's go ahead and talk about some live animals that we're going to show on the show. Oh yes, Patreon. I already mentioned Patreon as well. Patreon's another great way to help us out if you would like to regularly contribute that way and help our animals out. Now, what might you ask? Where does the money go towards? Well, it goes towards the obvious, taking care of the animals, and that means food. That means, paying our staff as well. But usually it's going to be animal supplies, right? Food, enrichment, if I need to repair anything or buy new enclosures for the animals, all kinds of animal care stuff. But of course we have to pay bills, and of course we have to pay our staff and get gas in our car and all the things. But typically the donation money does go towards feeding the animals. That's typically what we're going to do with that. But also vet care is another one too that can get quite expensive sometimes. Vet care is one of those things where unless something happens, usually it's pretty steady and not a big deal, but when something does happen, we have to take care of our animals, right? Now, I do want to actually introduce you guys tonight to some of our most colorful creatures in our collection, and they happen to all be reptiles. A lot of people, when they think of the word reptile in their head, you tell me what you think of first as far as color goes. A lot of people think green reptiles, right? Green is actually one of the least common colors that reptiles come in. Most of the time it's going to be brown or tan or something that blends into the natural environment. Not that green doesn't, but as far as like green, there aren't a ton of them. There's a few reptiles that are green, of course, green iguanas, some other lizards, like basilisk lizards are sometimes green. Some snakes are green, but not that many snakes are green. Some turtles are green, of course. There's a few of those. But in general, most reptiles kind of blend into stuff. Now, you might be bright colored and still blend into stuff, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But what colors do you think of when you think of reptiles? Well, I think of all sorts of rainbow colors because I think of all the different types of reptiles that I know. And reptiles are some of the animals I have the most experience with. So I've seen everything under the sun. Still learning, obviously, learning everything all the time. But reptiles come in every color you can think of. Now, let's introduce you guys to my favorite type of reptile. And it's one of the most colorful of this category that we have in the collection, of course, because we're talking about colorful animals. This happens to be a snake. Snakes are my favorite animals ever. If I had to pick one type of animal to work with for the rest of my life, it would be snakes. Snakes are my favorite. They're just so gorgeous. They're easy to care for. And they don't complain a whole lot, and they can't scratch you with nails. And yeah, so I love them. So this is actually a Chinese beauty snake. He's been on the program a few times, but it's been a little bit since he's been on. This is Long. His name is Long, but Long is actually a Mandarin word, and it means dragon. So in Chinese, Long means dragon. And he is gorgeous. This guy is one of the most colorful and beautiful snakes ever. Now, he's mostly kind of a yellowish green. Speaking of green, right? But not really green. It's more of a yellowy green, right? Kind of a mix between yellow and green. And he's got all these beautiful colorations and markings on him. I know it really is kind of hard to show that on camera. It doesn't do him any justice. But if you would love to see him in person, of course, he can be booked for an encounter. He is not all the way full grown. And fun fact, reptiles never stop growing, but they slow their growth a lot the older they get. So he will get about twice as big as this, but the Chinese beauty snake is in a family category of snakes where he is actually one of the smallest type of beauty snakes in the world. Asian rat snakes in the beauty snake kind of family, if you will, some of them are a lot bigger than this. And I kind of like the Chinese beauty snake because of that, because they're super easy to house. They don't need a ton of space compared to the other guys. They are an active species. They need some space to climb around and move, and taking him out every now and then doesn't hurt as well to give him exercise and things. But as you can see, he's a good climber. These guys like more of a vertical space, and they're semi-arboreal. In fact, I would actually call this snake arboreal over terrestrial. But they can spend time on the ground too, so let's just say semi-arboreal, I guess. But he could definitely represent arboreal animals quite well. He climbs very well. Snakes are so impressive when they climb since they have no arms and legs, no hands, nothing at all, no claws to climb with. They use their body instead. Now, this species is quite lengthy for their size. They're very slender, and they have amazing gripping abilities with the scales they have. The scales aren't rough, but they're definitely not the smoothest in the world. They have kind of a bumpy texture on the top, and on the ventral, which is their belly, they're extremely smooth. But the ventral scales are kind of like the what do you call like on a house you have like the little like the where the roof is, what do you call that, the shingles of a roof. They kind of work in tandem together to climb a little bit, but this guy is so able to kind of do so many S patterns. They can also use their body and muscles to climb too. They're super, super good at it. Rat snakes in general, he's in the rat snake category as well. So he's a beauty snake, but beauty snakes are a type of rat snake. And he's specifically a Chinese beauty snake. Let's make sure he's in focus and everything too. Back up a little bit. There we go. So rat snakes in general, whether it be a corn snake, whether it be, what's another good rat snake, a Texas rat snake, a black rat snake, there's so many rat snakes and many, many others. They're good climbers. So if you live here in Texas, by the way, and you see a snake that has gotten up high, maybe in a tree, or maybe up on your fence, or in your like a corner of your garage, and you're like, how'd that snake get in there? Or maybe even a cable box. That happens a lot too in apartments. You'll see them like on top of the cable box because it's warm, and they try to get into things to hide away and whatnot. They're also good at hunting birds, so they'll climb into holes and things to look for baby birds and eggs to eat. But if you see a snake that gets into a weird predicament, like up high, it's probably a rat snake, especially here in Texas. There are some other snakes, of course, all over the world, obviously, that can climb really well too. But here in the US, it's really the colubrids. So those colubrids are harmless to humans. So that's going to tell you one clue, like, oh, that's a snake that I don't have to worry about at all. I can leave it alone. In fact, you should leave all snakes alone, honestly, because no snake should be picked up unless you are a herpetologist or somebody studying them or a professional of some type. We want to make sure you guys don't get hurt and the snakes don't get hurt as well. But it's important to not harm any snake because snakes are extremely important to the natural environment. They eat a lot of rodents for us, and they eat things that might harm us, right? So rodents and other animals, if they populate too much, we start getting diseases. I'm ready for less diseases. I don't know about you. And they also eat all sorts of animals that there would be too many of them. So they would start eating too much food and things like that. If you don't have predators like snakes in the natural environment, we can get overwhelmed with animals that are their prey, right? So we really, really need them. And so it's good to leave them alone. Now, another thing that I will encourage you guys to do is to leave them alone, even if it is a venomous snake, because that is the very best way to be hurt by any animal, is by messing with them, trying to harm them, trying to kill them. They're going to fight back, and they're probably going to bite, right? But they can't bite if you're not touching them or not trying to get near them. So that's the best way for you and the snake or any wildlife to stay safe, right? The long is gorgeous. You can see his beautiful pattern and beautiful colors. These beautiful patterns and colors, though very colorful, going with the theme tonight, still blend into stuff. So he's got a pattern that would hide very well in the natural environment because of the busy pattern that he has. That's going to look like something natural, like leaves or shadows or the ground or anything like that, a rock, anything that he wants to climb on or be on. He may not even be seen at all, which is fantastic if he's just resting and trying to avoid predators or anything, but also if he's trying to hunt. Of course, these guys are predators, so they have to hunt their food, and they're active predators. You can see how active he is. This is not really a snake that would sit still and wait for food to pass by like some of the boas and pythons do. This is a snake that has a faster metabolism than boas and pythons. All of your colubrid type snakes, which are your skinny snakes that are kind of in their own random category, not boas, not pythons, not vipers, not anything venomous, and not sea snakes, of course. Then you've got colubrids, the weird category. But there's so many different kinds. Those colubrids, especially these skinny guys, they have a faster metabolism. They got to eat faster or eat more often, I should say, than boas and pythons. Boas and pythons can sustain themselves on maybe like a meal once a month. These guys like to eat at least once a week, if not 2 or 3 times a week. Now, here in human care, where we care for him, feed him about once a week. That's about how often he gets a meal. Or we'll feed him every other week, and we'll just feed him a little bit extra that time. So it's not really a right or wrong way to do it, as long as they're getting enough food and they look healthy, right? You don't want to overfeed snakes, though, because they can actually become overweight, just like any other animal. So we just kind of go with the flow of what they need. Also, you want to give your snakes time off when they're shedding. You don't necessarily want to feed them when they're in their shed cycle because they don't usually want to eat. It might even go to waste. Now, rat snakes like him don't usually refuse meals at all, even when they're in their shed cycle, because they're faster metabolism, like I said. So this guy in the wild, he's gonna actively hunt a lot more often and kind of move around more than a boa or a python or a slower moving snake like that, or even like a big viper. Big vipers like gaboon vipers or even rattlesnakes, they won't eat very often either. They just kind of sit around and wait for their food to pass by. Now, vipers and non-venomous snakes like boas and python, they hunt in a different way, but they kind of they're both ambush predators, right? So one is going to use venom and one is going to use their body to squeeze, but this guy doesn't really do much of either one of those things, right? So it's definitely a non-venomous snake. So he doesn't have any venom, and he certainly doesn't have any poison, because I can touch him and not become poison, and I can also potentially eat him and not become poison. I'm definitely not going to do that. Definitely not on the live stream, but otherwise, no, neither. But if you were to eat this kind of snake, or if a predator eats this kind of snake, he's not poisonous at all. It wouldn't really affect anybody. But except for him, right? But he doesn't have poison or venom. So instead, he's just going to overwhelm his prey by biting it and then just starting to eat it. So sometimes, depending on the personality of a rat snake, they may choose to coil around and actually constrict a little bit, but they're not going to do that very long. A true constrictor, like a boa or a python, is actually going to squeeze for a long time and make sure that prey is absolutely dead before they start eating it. This guy, he's a little more brave, so he can start eating something, but he oftentimes will hunt smaller things. So it's not necessarily a big deal if they're still wailing around a little bit. So that's just a different way to hunt. But they are non-venomous. They simply will bite onto prey and just start eating them. That is essentially what they do. And they'll eat things like eggs. They'll eat baby birds. They'll eat small rodents, of course. They'll eat lizards. They'll sometimes eat other snakes, but this type of snake isn't super well known for eating other snakes, not like the king snake or the indigo snake and things like that, but they could potentially do that. And when they're smaller and babies, they eat a lot more lizards, geckos, things like that. Lizards are geckos, but you know what I mean, like smaller lizards like that, or small birds and things like that, because there's not going to be a ton of rodents that are small enough when these guys are babies. He's not a baby anymore. He's kind of like midway grown right now. He could get a little bit bigger than this. In fact, he can get about twice as big as this. But he's going to do so gradually, right? And again, the Chinese beauty snake specifically is what I meant to say. The Chinese beauty snake is not a huge snake. They're actually pretty small for this family of snakes. Some of the others could reach upwards of 6, maybe 8, maybe even 9 feet or so. These guys usually make it to 5 to 6 feet at maximum. And he's a male. Male rat snakes, like these guys, tend to be a little bit bigger than female rat snakes, but not much. They're not extremely dimorphic or different looking from male to female at all. Just a slight size difference. But when it comes to the bigger snakes like boas and pythons, the females are always larger. And that also includes rattlesnakes and vipers too. So some of the big-bodied snakes, females are larger, males are smaller. Whereas with these skinny guys, typically the males are actually just slightly bigger than the females. Ricky says, I love its metallic shine. By the way, if you guys have any comments or questions for me, you can go ahead and type them down below. Don't be shy, but also keep it family friendly, please. And Ricky's really highlighting Patreon. Okay, no problem, Ricky. I will tell them. Patreon. The metallic shine. Yes, they're very shiny. So snakes actually get a weird reputation for being slimy, don't they? A lot of people are really surprised if they ever get to touch a snake and they've never touched one before. Some people are very surprised that they are not slimy. No, they're not slimy at all. Snakes are the opposite of slimy. They're reptiles. So most reptiles, besides like a couple weird ones, are zero slime, zero anything on your fingers whenever you touch them. Reptiles have dry scales that are waterproof. That's literally the opposite of slime. Slime is found on things like frogs, toads, axolotls, all your amphibians. Also fish have that, and an occasional weird reptile like a soft-shelled turtle, things like that, but those are strange, so just ignore that. Reptiles in general are dry-skinned, and they have scales to protect their skin. So their skin has scales on top, and those scales are made of keratin, just like your fingernails and hair, but it's real waterproof, you guys. If this snake were to take a dip in the water, no problem. He's waterproof. It would just roll right off of him and he'd be dry in no time right afterwards. There's no hair, there's no fur, there's no feathers to take its sweet time to dry off. He is dry very fast. In fact, a lot of snakes will swim really, really easily and then just hop out of the water and they're good to go. So the total opposite of slime. So he's not slimy at all. He's just really shiny. Some snakes are extremely shiny like him. Look how gorgeous. There's some even more shiny than this. For example, like the sunbeam snake. That's a really cool one to look up. Sunbeam. They're actually pretty dull colored, but out in the sun, they will show like rainbow sheen to them. Almost like a black bird has like almost like an iridescence to them. That's how they look. And a black snake that I really like, which is the indigo snake, is another super iridescent and shiny snake as well. But these guys are also fairly shiny too. Thank you for the compliment. Favorite snake? Are you asking me what my favorite snake species is? That is a great question. I don't really have a favorite snake species, but indigo snakes are one of my favorite. The eastern indigo, they're a big, impressive colubrid type snake. Colubrids are definitely my favorite category of snakes to work with, to be around in general. There's so much variety in there. I tend to like the Asian rat snakes, like this one before you, the Chinese beauty, but I like all the beauty snakes are gorgeous. There's not one I don't like. And I really like corn snakes too. For me, I really like corn. Snakes. It's got the juice. Just kidding. Okay, corn snakes, colubrids in general, rat snakes. Indigo snakes are one of my dream animals to have. They're actually quite expensive, and they take permits and things to own usually. So it's not super simple to obtain one, but someday we will have at least one indigo snake. Indigo snakes are also quite large and require a lot of space, and they actually eat a lot for a snake. So it's definitely something to consider with lots of planning and things like that. Lots of consideration there. But one of my favorites, indigo snakes are so soft, so shiny. They're black with iridescence. If you've never seen one or looked up or been around one or even seen a picture, look it up. They're gorgeous and they're actually quite sweet. Even wild indigo snakes are known to be very docile to humans. Most snakes, you guys, don't want anything to do with people. They don't want to harm you. They just want to be left alone to do their job, which of course is to eat rodents and just be themselves and be in their own habitat. They were there first, you guys. It's their home too, so they should be left alone. Not that I have to tell you guys that. You guys are animal lovers, right? Hello, everyone on Instagram over there. Yep, rainbow boas are another very shiny iridescent snake, a gorgeous animal. Rainbow boas are known to be a little bit nippy. So they're not my favorite to handle, but they are gorgeous. They're a little high maintenance for a snake as well, which is why I really like the colubrid category. You like adders and European adders. That's a cool choice. My favorite venomous snakes are probably the western green mamba, and a beautiful snake, and also the neotropical rattlesnakes. Those guys are my favorites. Rattlesnakes are my favorite venomous snakes that I've ever worked with. They're super easy to work with. I really like vipers as well. Vipers in general. But rattlesnakes are my favorite vipers for sure. Specifically, neotropical or South American rattlesnakes. Yes, yes, yes. Love them. I think they're the most beautiful. They're also some of the most dangerous venom-wise. Venom-wise, all rattlesnakes are dangerous venom-wise, but neotropicals have a lot of different properties in their venom that you don't want to get bitten by at all. So you have to be super duper careful. But I do love them. They're very easy to work with. Not that I encourage you guys to go do that unless you're professionals or have a lot of experience. But in general, they're very calm and very, very chill snakes. And very healthy as well. Hello, hello, everyone. So this, again, is Long. Long is a Mandarin word for dragon, and that's his name, and he's a Chinese beauty snake. Now, I love these guys' patterns, so let's talk about that a little bit. So on the neck, they've got like a patternless neck, which is just like golden yellow, greenish. In person, to me, it looks more greenish, but on camera, it actually looks more golden, which I find so interesting. Maybe your eyes see a different color than my eyes, but it's super colorful. And so he's got kind of a patternless neck. And then on most of the body, it's got this very busy pattern, kind of typical camouflage-y pattern. And then on the tail, but still beautiful, even though it's quote unquote typical, like I said. These guys actually have a striped tail. So it's got a a stripe, not a banded tail, it's a striped tail. So stripes, when it comes to snakes, that is down this way, and then banded would be banded, like a king snake, like a California king snake or some other guys, or like a coral snake. Those are bands instead of stripes. So he's got patternless neck, busy pattern on the body, even with little almost like rectangles on top, kind of cool. And then the tail is like a stripe, which I absolutely love. And these guys have a prehensile tail. So they're a arboreal climbing snake. They're not totally arboreal, so let's call them semi-arboreal, I guess. They can go on the ground too and be totally fine on the ground. They can swim as well. They have lots of options. But these guys have a prehensile tail, which makes it really easy to climb. They're very good at it. Rat snakes are amazing climbers and gorgeous. Some of my favorites. So let's talk about, oh, and I forgot to mention his face. So his face also has a false eye spot, which is that kind of stripe behind his eye. It makes his eye look a lot bigger than it is. Let's see if I can focus a little better on his face so you guys can see. It's trying to focus on my face. Long. Smile. You're on camera. He moves around a lot, you guys. This is a very active species of snake compared to other snakes. Guys, there, let me try to coax him into staying still. Stay still. A little bit better. Well, I'm just gonna go back over here. So you guys can see he's got like kind of a stripe behind his eyes. We're gonna kiss here in a minute, I guess. Well, you guys get the point. He's got this kind of stripe behind his eyes, and that's to make his eye look bigger than it is, or to kind of hide where his actual eyeball is. And that's because he needs to disguise where the eye is in case a prey that he's catching decides to fight back a little bit. So a lot of predators actually have a false eye spot. Orca whales have a false eye spot, or killer whales. They have a white false eye spot, which disguises where their eye is, because their eye is hidden into the black of the killer whale. So that is, in theory, what this is for, to be able to disguise where their eyes are. So if they have a rat or a mouse or a bird or whatever that's trying to scratch and claw to get away, hopefully they won't go for the eye. They're going to go for behind the eye. But these guys are pretty good hunters, so they're typically okay. That's just part of their markings. Pretty cool. Excuse me. You're talking about someone saying what to do if you're bitten by a snake. Good question, or good comment. So you don't really want to do anything to the wound. You don't want to suck out the venom. That's definitely a myth. That's only in movies. If you're ever bitten by a venomous snake when you're camping or out somewhere or just around your backyard or anything, you just go straight to the hospital. So what you want to do is, if you have a family member or a friend with you, you want them to drive you to the hospital immediately. Really, you don't want to wait for an ambulance. You want to go yourself immediately. And you want to tell them, hey, I was bitten by a snake, and then you describe it. Typically here in the United States, there's just a few different kinds of snakes that are dangerous, venomous. If you can take a picture of the snake, don't get close to it again if you get bitten. But if you can take a cell phone photo of it, do that. Do not kill the snake. Do not harm the snake, because that's going to encourage the snake to actually bite you again. You don't want to get bitten again. But if you are walking around and you accidentally get bitten, it happens sometimes, especially camping and hiking and things like that. Go straight to the hospital immediately. The nearest emergency room, the nearest hospital that has emergency anything. And if they can't get you anti-venom there, they will tell you where to go, or they'll send you over or airlift you to the next one. You may want to call ahead of time to see if they have anti-venom. That would be probably a good idea. But the best thing for you to do is to get to medical help immediately, probably an emergency room. Most people do not pass away any longer from snake bites because there is anti-venom. And it works very well. It's going to be expensive, but it's better than passing away. So you want to make sure and get help immediately. That is the only thing you can do. You don't want to tourniquet the wound. You do not want to cut the wound. You don't want to anything. You just kind of stay calm and get to the hospital immediately. One thing you can do is elevate the wound, but you don't want to elevate it above your heart. So if it's a leg, you want to kind of have it up, but not like above your heart. And if it's your arm, you just want to relax. So the best thing you can do is just be as calm as you can. I know it's super scary, but calm your family member down or calm yourself down and just literally go straight to the nearest medical facility that can help you. Yeah, nothing else. Like I said, if you can, I mean, if you're able to drive yourself, but I don't want to encourage you guys to get behind the wheel, best thing to do is to have somebody else drive you. Yes, yes, yes. So just be careful. Be very careful. Good point. Now, typically, snakes won't bite you unless they have to. So unless you are stepping on them with bare feet or something, or you just step on them on accident, or you're right next to them and don't see them and they just decide to bite for defense, that's the only reason they're going to bite you. Another reason might be that you're handling them. So please don't handle snakes unless you know what you're doing, right? You don't want to do that. Now he's being still, so we can maybe see his face. There we go. He's such a mover and a shaker. This guy's hard to focus on, but he's just one of my favorites, you guys. He's such a neat snake. The Chinese beauty snake. One of the most colorful and beautiful snakes in our whole collection. We have many snakes. Another super colorful one that we have is the corn snake. The corn snake is mostly red. They have orange as well and black markings. And they even have a black and white checkerboard pattern belly. So that's another super colorful snake. Maybe we'll bring her on the channel soon as well. She's been on before, so you can look back and see some corn snake footage if you would like. Corn snakes are really awesome. And all the snakes that we have are colorful in some manner. But this guy I thought we would bring on for the colorful show. So this is Long. He's about to take a rest and say goodbye, but we have 2 other reptiles to meet. So one more thing about snakes, I like to always talk about animal senses. So a snake's best sense, one moment. I'm starting to feel a dry throat. Been talking all day, so I need a drink. These guys have an amazing sense of smell, but they actually smell with their tongue. Can you see his tongue sticking out? He has a forked tongue, which all snakes have too. His forked tongue is very slender and has 2 points on the end of the tongue. And it can actually pick up all sorts of scent particles in the air or on surfaces. And when it flickers back into their mouth, it touches the roof of their mouth, and they have a little pocket on the roof of their mouth, like a little hole there. It's called Jacobson's organ. And that is actually going to tell their brain information about what they're smelling. That's where they get most of their information about the environment around them, is through smelling with the tongue. Another thing that they can do is see. They can see decent, but it's not great. They really don't see any color, and they don't see very sharply, but they can see and do respond to things that they see. They might get away from danger that way. They might move towards something that they want to eat, etc. So they do navigate by sight as well, but smell is much better. Another thing that a snake does not have is any ears. So they really don't hear anything. They still experience noise. They do have inner ears that can hear a tiny little bit, but it doesn't really count in my opinion. But they can feel noise. That is not a problem for them. They have really good sense of touch. They can feel touch to their skin and scales, but they can also feel noise. So if the noise is loud enough, or if it's like stomping, they can feel that, right? So they can respond in that way to quote unquote sound or touch, right? And another thing they have is, or don't have, is going to be taste. Snakes don't really taste anything per se. We really don't think they do at all. So the smell makes up for that quite a bit though. So smell, sight, hearing, no. Touch, yes. Taste, not really. Did I miss one? I feel like I missed one. Taste, smell, sight, touch, and hearing. No, I got them all. Let me know if I forgot anything. All right, so we are going to let him go ahead and rest, and we're going to meet our next colorful reptile friend. So tonight we're meeting all colorful critters, and it's going to be all reptiles. So Long, you did a great job. If you guys, by the way, want to watch any past videos, we have so many live streams that we put up on YouTube and Facebook and all over the place. You can actually watch those. Again, we always save them and upload them. Well, they just automatically upload to our channels, and you can watch them. So snakes are actually my favorite animals, just because I've always loved them, and ever since being a child. And also they're super easy to work with, especially what we do, which is animal presentations, different educational stuff. Snakes are very easy to travel around with. They don't make much noise at all. They don't scratch you when you hold them. They actually are super easy to care for as well. One of my favorite things about the Chinese beauty snake is their care. These guys are from the mountains of China, so they're up like in kind of higher altitude and things like that. So they actually like a cooler temperature. Now they're super tolerant of warmer temperature too. They can definitely handle some warm temps, but they actually don't require any extra heating as far as their enclosure goes. So you can have them in room temperature and they do just fine. Now they can't handle extreme cold and they can't handle extreme hot, obviously, like any animal, but they're very tolerant of all of that. So they don't necessarily need any heat. They do just fine with room temperature accommodations, which is really, really fun. I think they're very easy to care for. One of my snakes that I don't understand why more people don't have them, but I think they're just not as common in the trade as some of the other snakes that I named, like corn snakes. Corn snakes are actually very easy to care for too. So let's meet a tortoise species, shall we? I actually brought two of them. Bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and get them. Instagram's going to get a preview down below. And the rest of you guys are going to see this guy. He's kind of heavy. So this is actually Shelton. He's a red-footed tortoise. His full name is Shelton John. And I do have his little friend right here, the younger version, the same species, and this is Rocket. So he's named after Rocket Man, and this is Shelton John. So Shelton and Rocket are here today. They're quite cute together and quite cute anyway, right? So they are red-footed tortoises. I'll pick up Rocket for most of our viewers periodically so you can see them again. It's just hard to hold both of them. So red-footed tortoises are from South America. They're actually quite common, and they're what we call least concern, which is not really endangered whatsoever. They're doing really well in the natural environment. By the way, the Chinese beauty snake is also least concern. They're not nearly as common as the red-footed tortoise. Red-footed tortoises are super common type of tortoise found throughout South and Central America. So these guys, super duper colorful for a reptile, right? You wouldn't necessarily expect a tortoise to be bright colored. There are several turtle species. They're cousins, right? Turtles are cousins of tortoises, of course. Turtles, like box turtles and some others, there's some very colorful box turtles and some other painted turtles and things like that. But tortoises in general aren't usually the most colorful, but red-footed tortoises and some other ones that are similar are very colorful. They have red spots on their legs. Both front and back have the red dots, and even their tail, where is it? Tail has red on it too, and they even have a red face. And some of them have yellow as well in those places. And then he's even got some really bright yellow spots on his shell, his dorsal shell, which is known as the carapace. So the carapace is the top shell. The plastron is the belly. The belly is also quite yellow or tannish as well. Now, this type of tortoise species is found in the jungle of South and Central America. They're also found in some savannas and other surrounding places too, tropics, the tropics. But as you might imagine, there's lots of colorful plants in those places in Central and South America, which is why they, in theory, have all these beautiful bright colors. Now, they also may be a communication thing. It might be other reasons, but we think it's mostly for camouflage because, number one, both male and female are bright colored. And it makes a lot of sense when you are teeny tiny like this. So this, by the way, Rocket is around a 2-year-old tortoise. By the way, tortoises go to the bathroom quite a bit. So you might see me cleaning up some of their mess periodically. Please just bear with us. Tortoises have a lot of roughage in their diet. They're vegetarians, so they poop and pee a lot, which is one kind of deterrent from really getting one for a pet. The main deterrent from getting a tortoise for a pet, so why I don't recommend them for most people, is their life expectancy. These guys actually can live for 60 or 70 years. That's a really big commitment for the average person to have a pet that long, right? So we don't really recommend them for most people. However, they're wonderful animals. They're very sweet. And they also go to the bathroom like pretty much constantly when you hold them. So a lot of times we'll bring pillows or some sort of situation that they can sit on that's absorbent, like hay. This is just how it is, you guys. But anyway, these guys are so colorful for a tortoise. And part of the reason is going to be when they're this size. This is a 2-year-old animal. They don't start off this big. They start off very tiny, about this big. Their eggs are only about yay big, like ping pong ball size. That's most turtles that are sizable, right? Some turtles are smaller than that. But even like sea turtles start off tiny. And if you are a tiny tortoise or turtle, you should probably hide from stuff because stuff eats you in the wild. So this guy would have lots and lots and lots of predators at this size and younger and even a little older than he is now. As he starts to get bigger, like Shelton, he's going to have less predators. He's got a big, tough shell to protect him, and most predators are really not going to bother. But this guy, his shell is not as strong yet, and he's super tiny. He's almost bite-sized. Ridiculous. But he's got a lot more predators at this size. So especially at this size, they're going to need camouflage, right? As they get bigger, they still need camouflage, but from less predators. But this is going to look a lot like a flower or like plants in general. It has a natural kind of spotted pattern. And in the jungles of Central and South America, jungles and savannas and things like that, they've got a lot of colorful plants like hibiscus and crotons and all kinds of beautiful plants out there, and that helps them hide. So that is, in theory, why these guys have their beautiful coloration. It's to blend into things. Some animals have beautiful coloration like this in the jungle and other places all over the world to actually warn their predators. A lot of animals are like that, like poison dart frogs and all sorts of different animals. I'm sure you can think of some more. They're actually warning their predators that they might be toxic. They might be poisonous. That's not really the case with the tortoise. Most animals know that tortoises are not toxic. Tortoises, especially when they're tiny, do have lots of predators that do eat them. So that's actually pretty common knowledge in the animal kingdom, that you can eat them and they're not toxic. But some frogs are very toxic. So some frogs wear colors on their body to warn their predators, and it is true that they are toxic. And some frogs are just pretending to be toxic, or maybe they're not as toxic as they're pretending to be, etc., etc. So sometimes animals use colors and patterns to hide. Sometimes animals use colors and patterns to say, stay away from me, I might be toxic. But for these guys, it's mostly for camouflage. Can you believe that? Isn't that super cool? Are you talking about the beak? So somebody's asking, what do they chew, or do they chew, like on things, and how rabbits and rodents will shorten their teeth, but with their beak. So turtles and tortoises, of course, don't have any teeth. There's no teeth in his mouth, in Rocket's mouth. He has a beak like a bird. But yes, they actually do need to wear down their beak periodically. That usually comes from just eating the right diet. So if these guys are eating enough roughage, which could be things like weeds and grass to graze on, or eating sweet potato and hard vegetables like that, that's actually going to help their beak just naturally. If they get an overgrown beak, it's typically due to too much protein in their diet or not enough rough things to chew on. But that just comes from their food. You don't necessarily have to give them like toys to chew on or wood or anything like that. They really don't do that. At least this species doesn't really do that. And I can't think of any tortoise that sits there and chews on stuff, but they'll sit there and eat stuff because they like to eat all the time. Tortoises from the tropics, especially, these guys are from the tropics with no seasons. They don't have a winter time to worry about or anything like that. Their plants are going to be available to them all the time. Tortoises that live in the desert, they might have a hard time finding plants every day to eat. And tortoises that live in seasonal places that might have a winter time and things like that, where they have to actually hibernate or go away for the winter, right? Those guys may not eat a whole lot during those periods of time, but these guys eat all the time in the tropics. So they're going to be eating all the time, and that's going to really help them to keep that beak worn down the way it should be. So I hope that answers your question. Most tortoises, it's just from their food. And tortoise beaks don't grow that fast. It's not like a rodent's teeth or a rabbit's teeth that grow super duper fast. Those guys actually, rodents and rabbits have to eat all the time. They're grazers. These guys are grazers too, but they're slow growers, right? So if a tortoise has an overgrown beak, overgrown nails, or another thing, bumps on their shell, which I'll tell you Shelton's story in a little bit. If you see this on a tortoise species that should have a smooth shell, well, this is actually how they should look. Even Shelton should have a smoother shell like this, or more streamlined like this. He's got bumps. So if you see bumps, some tortoises should have bumps and most should not. If you see that on a smooth-backed tortoise, that usually means they've gotten too much protein to eat. So like animal protein. These guys really don't eat animal protein, especially in human care. In my opinion, they shouldn't really be given any animal protein. They get proteins from their veggies. Lots of veggies have plenty of protein for them. They can get supplemental protein from things like tortoise pellets. But some people are under the misconception that they're supposed to eat meat all the time, or like bugs all the time, or, to each his own, honestly. But I know there's different ways to feed tortoises, but really they shouldn't be fed a ton of protein at all. They get overgrown shells. They get long, long nails. too long, and they also get long overgrown beaks. Now, if you're feeding them properly, which is mostly roughage, so we let our tortoises graze outdoors. We feed them natural weeds that we don't use pesticides or anything like that. We know that they're nice and safe for them to eat. That's most of their diet. They also get lots of other vegetables as well, salad and all kinds of things. Also, since they're tropical tortoises, they get fruit as well. They don't get fruit a ton, but they love bananas and they love all kinds of things. These tortoises will literally eat anything. Like, they are eating machines, so they love to eat. Not a problem. They're not picky at all. But that's really the staple of your tortoise's diet is dark leafy greens and salad, and then roughage. So if you have a tortoise, or you're thinking about getting one, or you know a friend with a tortoise or a family member, encourage them to feed them natural weeds and grass from the yard as long as there's no pesticide. And if you're not sure, just rinse them real thoroughly and make sure there's nothing on them, because we don't want to poison our animals, right? But that's a natural diet for a tortoise. Now, these guys, again, are from tropical places, so they also eat fruit, and they also eat flowers, and they also eat all kinds of stuff. But you can also feed them a good tortoise pellet as well, like a vegetarian pellet for reptiles. It could be for iguanas or tortoises, things like that. Leaf eater. There's all kinds of different diets. Missouri is the one we use. It's like a crouton for tortoises. They absolutely love it. And that has a lot of different properties in the pellet itself to kind of make up for anything lacking. And of course, when you feed your animals, when you feed your reptiles specifically, I should say, when you feed tortoises and lizards and animals that eat either insects or salad, fruits and vegetables, you want to add calcium with D3, and you want to also add a multivitamin about once a week. So multivitamin is not every day, but calcium with D3 should be about every day. But of course, we don't spread it all over our lawn, so they're going to be eating roughage outside when it's warm outside and everything, and they're out there. They can eat that without the calcium on it, but when we give them their salad or anything else, we give them calcium, because that's also very important. Another thing that's very important for diurnal or daytime dwelling reptiles is going to be natural sun. If you can provide your daytime reptiles, like tortoises, natural sunlight, that is the best form of light that you can offer. It gives you heat and it gives you ultraviolet rays, right? UV rays. So if you can't do that, or it's wintertime and you have to bring your animals inside, like we do in the wintertime, because they live outside most of the year, as long as it's 60 degrees and up, our tortoises are outside, all 4 of them. We bring the babies in at night, but the 2 older ones, they stay outside all the time as long as it's in the 60s or 60 degrees and up, honestly. And they come in during the fall and winter when it's too cold. When we do that, we have ultraviolet lamps and a heat lamp on them, so they can bask in either one of those when they want to. And that way they get their light that they need. You're very welcome. I hope that answered your question. So yes, they do have that beak that does grow. Their beak is made of keratin. Their shell is made of keratin on the top, and their scales are made of keratin, just like the snake scales that we just saw. But these guys have a pretty hard shell, right? So that top layer is going to be made of keratin. It's like a keratin layer. It's kind of like a sheet of keratin here too on the bottom. It's so cute. Let me see if I can still see his belly button. Tortoise's baby belly button is like right there. It's kind of like that little line. He's got a dark spot. His little friend that we have, who's named Jet. Jet is our other kind of younger baby tortoise. He's got a totally different belly. I didn't bring Jet today. He's over there in his habitat, his indoor habitat, because they've been brought in for the night. But he's out of reach. But Jet has almost a totally brown belly, and Rocket has just one spot. And then Shelton has a really fun marking that kind of looks like a fish. See, it looks like somebody drew a fish on his belly there. Isn't that neat? But their shell on the like the top layer of all that, and their scales and their beak and their fingernails and toenails. Fingers, they have fingers. Toenails, I guess. Toenails and toenail. It's all made out of keratin. That's the same thing as your hair, same thing as your fingernails. And underneath this keratin layer is a bone layer. All of this is part of his body. It's just a strange body. The shell is like just part of it. You can see he's connected to it. Here's his flesh that's connected to the shell itself. It grows with him. It's part of his bone structure as well. So keratin layer, bone layer that's flat, and then connected to the bone layer that's flat is going to be the spine and the ribs, all interconnected, and his bones or his plastron below as well, right? It's got a bone layer down there too. And on the top, internally, their internal organs, on the top is actually the lungs sitting right on top. So if the lungs were down below, all his internal organs, including his guts and everything, they would actually squash his lungs. So his lungs are on top. That's how they've evolved. That's pretty cool. That way they don't suffocate, right? So lungs on top, and then all the rest of the internal organs that we have underneath. Instead of the lungs being in like the front chest area that we would think of, his lungs are not down here. His lungs are up top. That way he does not suffocate. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Steve. Steve says, that's a pretty metal-looking turtle. It's actually a tortoise. Let's talk about the differences. Now, turtles and tortoises are in the turtle family, so you're not really wrong. You're just not being specific enough, okay? So let's talk about turtles versus tortoises. They're specifically a tortoise. I'm gonna get rid of some mess down below. I told you these guys poop constantly, and they sure do. So maybe that's what's metal about them. It was all the mess. They're just always making a wreck around here. So a turtle and a tortoise. They're in the same family, and it's the turtle family. But this is a tortoise. Tortoises are land animals. Turtles can at least swim some. Even box turtles, which are primarily land animals, they can swim some. But a tortoise can swim zero. They cannot swim at all. They would sink in the water. The heavier and bigger they get, the faster they sink. A little baby tortoise may sink slower. Shelton, instant sink. He's so heavy, you guys, for his size. He's very dense, very heavy. Not only are all his internal organs heavy, like I mentioned, his whole shell and his whole body are heavy too. So he's just not designed to float or swim. Also, their shell on a tortoise is typically round. See the round shape? Round. And a turtle would be flat. So if this was a turtle, it'd be like flat shaped. And that's so they can kind of go through the water and swim through nice and streamlined and fast in the water. Also, turtles have webbed or flippered feet, and a tortoise has elephantine feet, which means they look like elephant legs. So elephantine feet and legs, little elephantine or elephant-like. That's going to help support their heavy shell that I talked about a second ago. So big tree trunk-like legs. That's going to be designed for being on land and walking around slowly, not really swimming at all, and definitely not swimming at all, and definitely not running around fast, right? These guys can go faster than you think, but in general, they're a pretty slow-moving animal, right? Slow-moving, tree trunk or elephantine legs, no swimming ability, and also vegetarian. And that makes sense to me because it's not a fast animal. So fast species can catch things. Slow species don't catch things often enough to make a living. So slow species are either omnivores or herbivores. Omnivores have more choices, but this is a very non-picky herbivore. So they eat a lot of different types of plant choices. So they still have a lot of choices to survive, which is great. And in nature, they live in the tropics. So they have tons and tons of plants to eat and can eat all year round, every day if they want to. They don't necessarily have to eat every day. In human care, we feed them about 3 times a week. And then outside, when they're out in the grass, they can graze on the grass at their leisure if they want to. That is more than plenty to keep them sustained. For a tortoise, they should never be losing weight. But as long as they're gaining weight steadily, you're doing a great job. Yeah. That's what you said. Tortoise. I heard you. I heard you say tortoise. Yes, indeed. I just want to make sure the audience knows and you know as well the differences. And again, they're in the same family. They're like really close cousins. They've just evolved for different lifestyles, right? And that is it. That is the difference. Turtles and tortoises have a lot in common, though. Their general appearance looks the same, right? In general, to the naked eye, to the untrained eye. And they also are the only type of reptiles to have no teeth. These guys have a beak instead of teeth. They have a beak like a bird, a very strong beak, but also these guys move slow. So a turtle, which could be a carnivore or an omnivore, has to catch stuff to eat. Turtles can move faster in general and even swim, but also they snap faster with their beak. These guys don't snap. Okay, go, Shelton, snap. No, he doesn't bite people. He's nice to people. Rocket, snap. Sick 'em, Rocket. No, he's not going to do that. So they bite very slowly. So a lot of people, it's really funny when we have our animal encounters, they're a little bit nervous sometimes sometimes to touch the tortoise. We bring the tortoise to a lot of encounters. Shelton goes to most of them, but Rocket and Jet go, and even Daniel goes to encounter as well. We have 4 tortoises total. That's hard to say. 4 tortoises total. And a lot of people, if they don't have any experience with tortoises, they probably think they're a turtle, and they think they're going to snap at them. Is it a snapping turtle? Is it going to bite me? If he bites you, it's going to be super slow. So it would be like, So if you're paying attention, you're going to have lots of time. Also, Shelton and none of the other tortoises want to bite people. They might be curious about your shoe or something like that and maybe taste test it, but they're not going to bite you hard, ever. And usually not at all. So don't worry. And also when we touch our tortoises, usually it's going to be on the back anyway, and they cannot reach. They don't have a long neck like some other turtle species. They have a very short neck that cannot reach their back. Another thing they cannot reach to do on their back is to scratch. These guys really enjoy a little back scratch. Did you know that turtles and tortoises can feel their back being touched and their tummy being touched? They can feel warmth and heat. They can feel my hands giving them a hug. How cute. Adorable. But also they can feel general touch. So they can feel just a small touch like this. They can feel a nice little scratch or a rub down. They seem to really enjoy that. In fact, they will seek out attention once they realize humans mean scratches. Because guess what? They cannot reach to scratch their own back. Their legs don't work that way. So what tortoises do in the wild sometimes is they'll go and find a rock or a fallen log or something to kind of scratch up against. Think of like a little bear scratching its back on a tree, right? But it's a tiny one. It's a tortoise. Or it could be a big tortoise. The tortoises come in different sizes, don't they? So it could be a big, giant Galapagos tortoise over in the Galapagos Islands, or an Aldabra tortoise in the Aldabra Islands, or it could be a sulcata tortoise over in Africa. Look at, they're pretty big. So I take it back. But they will go over and scratch their backs on things. All tortoises, by the way, start small. But they do enjoy a back scratch or back rub or general touch, just like any other animal. Isn't that neat? Can you guys think of any animals that don't have a sense of touch? I can't think of one. That would be almost impossible. Animals, since they're alive, they can feel things. And even emotions. Emotions. So cute. What other questions or comments do you guys have? You're cracking me up today. Hagfish? Question mark? What are you asking? What about the hagfish? I don't know much about hagfish. I'm not an aquarist, nor am I specialized in those type of things. But I do know a little bit about fish. Yes. La la la. I see another question. Oh, do they shed? Is that your question from earlier? Oh, hagfish have touch? I'm assuming a hagfish can touch. Let's look it up together and learn. I don't know. But I'm assuming that all animals can feel touch. I sure hope so. And hopefully they all feel emotions, right? Oh, we all feel things. But I'm making fun, but they really do. Animals do have emotions too. I don't know. We shall look it up. Here's a good question about, do they shed? I think that was you as well. Asking the same thing. Do they shed? Yes. Tortoises grow very slowly. And they walk very slowly and do everything slowly. Tortoises and turtles do shed. They don't shed up here as often on their shell as they do on their skin. Their skin will actually flake off and shed like a lizard will. These areas right here on top of the shell or underneath on the plastron shell, those will actually flake off and have little kind of like, looks like leaves coming off of them. Off of their scutes and off of their different places on their shell. Scutes are the different sections, by the way. So yes, they do, but it's just not nearly as often as a snake and not nearly as often as a lizard. But they sure do. All reptiles shed. Even crocodilians, like alligators and crocodiles, shed as well. They have to shed to grow. Great question. Do you know why reptiles shed? They shed to grow, but there's actually a functioning reason. There's a couple of them. Number one is to get rid of external parasites. So especially like snakes and lizards, they will shed their skin quite often. A snake sheds about once a month if it's healthy and eating and things like that, or more or less once a month, usually every 4 to 6 weeks. They'll shed. And snakes are going to typically shed in one piece normally, as long as everything's normal and they have humidity or the right everything. They will shed in one single piece that comes right off of their entire body, like an inside-out sock. But the reason for like a snake shedding is to get rid of bugs that might be on their body. So that could be ticks, that could be mites on their body, not mice, but mites with a T. So that's to get rid of bugs, right? External parasites. Another reason, I know there's another reason, but that's the main one, is to kind of, oh, I know, is to heal, of course. So that helps them to actually heal really fast too, if they get an injury of some kind. Now, nothing major. They can't heal from a major injury. They're not axolotls or animals that can regenerate. But a snake can shed its skin and actually heal external like scratches and superficial wounds very, very fast that way. And in a couple sheds, you won't even see anything anymore. They will heal very fast. So maybe like superficial scratches from a prey animal that wants to defend itself while they're hunting, that happens a lot. So snakes are predators, of course. Snakes don't eat fruits and vegetables or salad like tortoises do, right? Snakes eat other animals. So sometimes other animals will fight back and they'll get bite or scratch wounds, and the snake will shed, and that will eventually, it's almost like having a scab. They will heal very fast. And in, I would say, 2 to 4 sheds, you won't even see it anymore. Snakes shed very fast. Oh, Ricky is saying to tell you guys, if you're in Facebook, please send stars. Now, I am new to this. I think stars is actually the way to kind of rate us, but also send us funds, right? Question mark. Ricky, can you explain the stars down below for us newbies like me? How that works, where they can find it, everything else? That would be very helpful for me specifically to learn. Please tell me so I don't sound like a dum-dum. You guys, I'm always learning all the time, and social media changes every day, so please don't judge. But isn't Rocket so super cute? We have Rocket tonight, and we also have Shelton, right? Shelton is the biggest red-footed tortoise we have now. I forget how much he weighs. I weighed him not that long ago, but I can't remember. We think Shelton is around 20 years old, but we don't know his age for sure. That is a guess. We don't have a birthday on him because he's one of our rescues, and we do know that our little guy Rocket is actually around 2 years old, and so is his little friend Jet. Jet and Rocket, I was told, were about 2 years old, so we do know that. And they did come from, we bought them. They came from somebody who bred them with love and were able to get them to us, and so we could have extra tortoises. We're very happy to have them. Okay, I think our tortoise friends are ready to take a break. So let's say goodbye to little Rocket Man, growing all the time. Stay tuned for growth updates and all of that. We're going to let him have a little break and say goodbye to tried and true tortoise over here, Shelton, our favorite tortoise. Don't tell Rocket, but Shelton is my favorite tortoise. He's just so sweet. He's got the coolest personality, very, very outgoing. He almost never tucks his head in. Tortoises can tuck their head in and cover their face with their front legs, and they can tuck their feet in, or their legs, I should say, and their little feet stick out ever so slightly, and they can tuck their tail in, but they can't actually close their shell all the way and go all the way into their shell like the box turtle can. Box turtles are the only type of turtle or tortoise, all the category, that can actually seal their shell up. That's why they call them a box turtle. That's where they get their name, box turtle. Isn't that neat? That's one of my favorite species. Someday soon, I'm hoping to get some box turtles. Box turtles used to be super common in the animal trade, and now they're quite protected in some areas, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining about that at all. Box turtles are another super colorful type of turtle, too. But we're talking about colorful animals tonight. This is one of the most colorful tortoise species in the world, the red-footed tortoise, and Shelton is his name, and he's going to say, see you later, and he's even going to slowly wave goodbye. Look at that, right on cue. These guys like to move their legs a lot, even if you're carrying them, because they're like, should I walk? It's kind of like when you pick up some little dogs and they want to swim. So cute, and they are super cool. Red-footed tortoise. So that was the red-footed tortoises. If you don't mind, I'm going to clean up a little bit around here because they go to the bathroom a lot, you guys. Now, you might be wondering, for our encounters, yeah, Shelton John is his name. Shelton John and Rocket Man. So we call him Shelton and Rocket. We also have a Daniel, and we also have a Jet. So like Benny and the Jets, and like the Elton John song, Daniel. That's another song by Elton John. So we got 4 of them. Daniel, Shelton, Rocket, and Jet. Bye. Your fans say goodbye, Shelton. You'll see them later. So a lot of people ask us for our encounters, or maybe you're concerned. So here's some questions that we get. Is it going to be a mess? So we actually bring items when we bring the messy animals. We either bring like a mat for the floor if we happen to be indoors, because once in a while can visit our zoo. Once in a while can visit your indoor um, location, no problem. We do a lot of indoor encounters actually. But we will bring for the floor if it's going to be like a bird or an animal that may go to the bathroom and we're on carpet or something like that that's a little bit concerning, right? We'll just bring one of our mats to put on the floor to make sure you don't have any mess. And if there is ever a mess, we clean it up for you, okay? If we're on tile or something like that, we'll just clean it up if something happens there. If we're outdoors, usually no problem there, but sometimes we do bring our petting zoo and outdoor can still be messy and we will always clean up for you and make sure we don't leave any mess, etc., etc. We can sweep up for you. We can vacuum if you want us to. Not a problem. But for the extra regular animals, if you will, that kind of go potty a little bit more than some of the other animals, we have accommodations. So if for a tortoise specifically, we actually put them in a container with hay, and they're just in the container most of the time, unless we lift them up to show you, and then we're getting mess on us. You're not getting mess on you, right? Some of our tortoises as well are great for animal therapy. So that could be in your lap. Now you might be wondering, what the heck? How can I have a tortoise in my lap if it's going to the bathroom the whole time? Well, we will put something in your lap first. It won't be the hay. It'll actually be like a mat. So we have like a plush mat that we'll put in your lap in case any accidents happen there. So we're always super cautious of that. But for the most part, the tortoises are going to be in some sort of container with hay, and there's just no lid. So you can like reach in and pet them and things like that. Or if it's a presentation, we just hold them for you, or we put them down in the hay to take potty breaks, frankly. So that's how we accommodate the tortoises. So it's really similar with the guinea pigs as well. Guinea pigs kind of go potty a lot too, and also pee randomly. So we want to make sure your area, your home, your lap, whatever it might be, is nice and clean. A lot of people do ask if they can hold or pick up some of our animals, and we usually say no just because of that. So it's not because the animal's dangerous. Sometimes animals are hands off for other reasons, but some of our touchable, sweet animals like the tortoises and guinea pigs, we don't want you guys to pick them up and for you to get, urine or feces on you. We want to make sure and keep you clean. So the best thing to do is just let us help you in those ways. So if you ever have a encounter in person or you visit us in person, don't worry. We're going to do our very best to make that happen for you and make sure it's clean. Okay, so let's meet our final animal of this live stream. And remember, this is Once in a Wild Wednesday. We are actually going to move to once a month on our live streams, probably starting now. I think this is going to be something starting immediately. We're just a little bit too busy to do a live stream every single week, but don't you worry, we'll still play reruns every single Wednesday. So there will be something for you to watch every Wednesday if you want to still watch. It might be new to you anyway, right? But it won't be live each and every time. I think we're going to start doing live streams every first Wednesday of the month. So just be ready for that. I know it's a big change from what we usually offer. But to be honest, not as many people are online anymore to watch the live stream. And I don't think it's going to bother most people for us to do that. And we're super busy. So that's the main reason. We just don't have a ton of time to devote to once weekly live stream anymore. I hope you guys understand that. Life has gotten crazy and that's okay. That's a good thing. So let's meet our final animal. Remember, you can book all these animals for a private encounter, whether it be virtual, on Zoom, or in person here in South Texas, which is where we are. We're in San Antonio, Texas. We can visit most of South Texas. We're talking about colorful animals tonight, and it's all reptiles. And this guy is one of the most famously colorful lizards in the world. As soon as he lets me hold him, I will hold him for you. Well, he's just going to be a little particular about where he's going to be perched at. So we'll just bring it all. So this is on this giant tree here. This is Thanos. And Thanos is a panther chameleon. Panther chameleons are one of the most colorful lizards and chameleons on Earth. Aren't they neat? So hopefully you can all see him just fine. He should settle down and not be so bendy so you can see his whole body. He's a Ambanja panther chameleon, which is a subspecies of panther chameleon. They come in different subspecies. So another one is called the ambulomi. Ambulomis are actually rainbow colored. And there's many, many more. Nosy B is mostly blue, kind of like what he is. But Ambanjas can be blue, purple, and red as well. Usually blue like this. So I'm going to see if I can, because as you can see, there's another branch that's separate, but he's chosen to take the branch with him with his tail. So I guess we'll just let him have it all. He'll settle. He'll settle. So Thanos is a little bit of a villain. As you can see, we love him regardless, but he is not a social guy. He does not like anyone, including me, including himself. No, I'm sure he likes himself, but he doesn't like anyone. So panther chameleons tend to be pretty territorial creatures. All chameleons are solitary. Some chameleons tolerate seeing other chameleons a little bit better than others, but this guy absolutely hates anything else besides himself. And I think even if he saw himself in the mirror, he would hate that. In fact, I know he would, because they don't understand that it's them. They think it's another chameleon. And panther chameleons are extremely territorial when it comes to other males. So male panther chameleons hate each other. Female panther chameleons hate each other too, but sometimes males and females get along a lot, if you know what I mean. So they will come together for breeding and mate. And that's when the female will hopefully get her eggs fertilized, and then she will lay eggs. That is the only time that panther chameleons really hang out together at all. Another time might be to fight. So I take it back. They could hang out, but they might fight about it. But they don't want to hang out. So these guys are very territorial. They change color quite a bit. Now, this does not do him any justice. He's absolutely gorgeous. He is blue and purple and red right now, with a little bit of a light blue stripe down the side of his body there, on each side actually. And he's got kind of like light blue lips. See his little chin? Can you see how he's kind of posturing right now with his hands? They kind of look like praying hands. That is kind of a defensive, hey, stay away from me posture. He also kind of looks like a leaf. Now, a lot of people assume that chameleons of any species turn colors to blend into things. That is really not the case. They already blend into things by being a pattern. So chameleons usually have some sort of striping or spotting or natural pattern that helps them blend into the shadows of the trees where they live. This is an arboreal animal. That means they live in the trees only. They don't go down to the ground unless they really need to. There are a couple of chameleons, they're weird, that will walk around on the ground on a regular basis, but most chameleons climb trees only. They have pinchy toes, which all of their, their 2 back feet and their 2 front feet, or hands, I guess you can call them hands if you want to, they have 5 toes on each one of those hands/feet. But their toes are fused together in a strange way to make them little clampy hands, which actually grip onto tree branches and leaves and things up there that they can grab onto. They don't stick to things like a gecko or some tree frogs and things like that. They just pinch. They pinch the branches and the leaves that they're hanging out on. And that helps them to stay on there and to climb. They even have a prehensile tail. Can you see his tail grabbing the branch down below? Oop, I turned him away. You can't see him. See the tail? Right there. He's grabbing onto the branch with all his might. His tail is extremely strong. They have a very strong prehensile tail. Let me back up a little bit so you can see the whole animal. How about that? And me. Pardon me. There we go. His tail can lift his entire body weight. The tail does not have tail autonomy, which means it cannot pop off like other species of lizards, for example, geckos and anoles and tegus, and there's many other lizards that have tail autonomy, which means it's a defense mechanism where the tail can pop off easily and then grow back. A chameleon has nothing of the sort. They cannot lose their tail easily at all. Their tail is with them to stay, and it's a limb for them. It's an extra limb that they can climb with. They can use that for stability like he's doing now. He's actually giving you a great example of how they would look maybe when sticking their tongue out to get a bug. These guys have an extra long tongue. I know. Thanos is a very, very shy guy and very defensive. We don't hold him for very long. It'll be brief, Thanos, I promise. Chameleons also don't hear. They're extremely visual. They have no they have no ears, for hearing. They have eyes, guys. And they have amazing eyesight. They actually have 2 googly eyes. And their eyes can move independently. Each eye can move all around. And it can move separately than the other eye. So they can be looking at 2 different things at once. In fact, they even have 2 different images inside their brain to tell them what's going on in 2 different pictures, almost like 2 different screens of vision. They can also turn their head turn their eyes forward, turn their head and eyes forward, and look binocularly like all of us humans do. But they usually only do that when they see a tasty bug to eat. He's looking at me right now. He's trying to make sure I'm not going to eat him. He's not interested in food right now because there's no food. These guys eat insects. They are carnivores. Some chameleons do eat a little bit of plants, but most chameleons eat mostly insects or small animals. Insects are their favorite. So he's going to be stimulated by movement. When he sees something that looks good, he'll turn his eyes forward, like binoculars, binocular vision, and he will then stick his tongue out, which the tongue can actually reach very far. His tongue can extend as long as the tip of his tail extended all the way to the tip of his nose. So if you look at a baby chameleon that might be this long from tail to nose, that's how long their tongue can reach. As the chameleon gets bigger, their tongue can extend longer. And this type of chameleon, let me get back over here. Let's see. How long can you reach? About there. This is about how far he can reach. Maybe even a little further. Their tongue is extremely stretchy. It compresses into their mouth, no problem. Because it's like it kind of compresses into itself. It's squishy. And then it extends and has a very sticky tip. And the tip is very, it's long. It's like bigger than the rest of the tongue. So it kind of, whoa, he scared me. He's like, I'm going to bite your nose off. I know you are, but he can't reach me right here. It just startled me. He does bite. They can bite for defense, by the way. So blending into stuff, they do that all the time, just by being themselves. Color change, we'll get to that in a little bit, because that's a really, really famous thing they do. But let's talk more about the tongue. So the tongue will stick to their food and also kind of wrap around, because that tip is very big. So kind of like kind of engulfs that prey, the bug, and right back into their mouth. And then they can chomp up their food and eat it like anybody else. They chew it right up. Most animals chew their food before they eat it, don't they? Not every animal does that. Snakes don't do that. Snakes eat their food whole. These guys chew up their bugs. He's in a really strange body position where you can't really see him. Trying to, there we go. Now you can see him really well. Thanos. Thanos doesn't like the company of anyone, like I said. Some panther chameleons are pretty good with handling. No chameleon should be overhandled. That can actually stress them out quite a bit. We're not going to stress him out too much longer. No, we are not. No, we are not. Now, his positioning does look like when they hunt, but it also looks like a defensive position, which you might imagine if he's uncomfortable right now, which he is. He's kind of defensive. He's puffed up. He's trying to look really big. He's trying to look really bad. And he's saying, don't eat me, please, or I will bite your face. He can bite. Now, a chameleon doesn't bite that hard compared to other lizards, but they can still pinch and bite with their teeth. They have teeth. And they'll clamp right down on you if they mean business. And he's just that personality. He's kind of a sassy guy. His name is Thanos for a reason. He's kind of a jerk. But it's not his fault. We love him anyway. They're wild animals, even though they sometimes live in people's houses. And he should be used to people by now. He just does not like us. So that is okay. There's still wildlife. He would probably make it in the wild. He would be very, very ready to defend himself at all times. He's cool, right? A video of the tongue? Yes, we do. We have a video of the tongue eating bugs. We have several of them, actually, on TikTok, if you want to check that out. It's hard to feed them here in the studio on a live stream because they typically don't feel comfortable enough to just want to eat in front of you guys on a live stream. But we do have videos of them eating on our other social, like TikTok. Top speed for the tortoises? I don't know what their top speed is, and I've never raced them, no. Good question. Yes, let's talk about their color change. Thank you for the reminder. So chameleons change color. How do they do that? Let's talk about how. They change color with their amazing pore-like properties on their skin, so little holes called chromatophores. Chromatophores are little holes in the skin surface, essentially, that open and close, and they're super tiny, so it's hard to see them with your naked eye. He's going to bite my face if I try to get any closer. But the little pores, if you will, they're not pores, they don't sweat, but they're like pores. They open and close to give the illusion of color change. And that's going to help him to change color to the eyeball, right? That's how we see him. He's going to change color. It also changes color for them. So one reason they may change color is to communicate. Remember, chameleons don't have any ears, like I mentioned before, so they can't really talk to each other. And anyway, most lizards don't communicate He's a monster. He's gonna bite me. Lizards don't really communicate a whole lot with their voices. The exception is going to be geckos. Geckos, little geckos. That's where they get their name, gecko, gecko. It's one of the noises that some geckos make. Geckos make noises kind of like frogs do for a little bit of communication. But most lizards communicate with body language, posturing, and color change. So chameleons, especially, since they can't hear anything, they really rely on color change for communication, talking to one another, talking to prey and predators. Maybe not prey. Prey, they're going to want to stay hidden, right? But predators is what I meant to say. They might even change brighter colors to look more intimidating and things like that. Most of the time, though, they're going to want to stay still and hide in the shadows. But, I mean, they're certainly going to talk to each other with color change. Now, they're not a social animal, but they're also a territorial animal. So if you're not social, but you still want to tell people, you want to tell others, like yourself, to stay away, or maybe they're flirting, right? So panther chameleon males are more colorful and larger than females, and they certainly communicate to flirt and attract mates. That might be another reason for him to change color. So a little bit of communication, right? Chameleons especially. All lizards that change color can communicate with their skin as well. For example, bearded dragons and iguanas, you change color for that as well. Some lizards don't change color. For example, tegus. Tegus don't change color at will. They change color gradually when they grow up, but they're not going to like flash colors or change colors at all. But lots of lizards change color. But chameleons change color for communication. Another one is going to be temperature change. So all lizards that change color can also regulate their body temperature a little bit with their colors. For example, if he feels a little bit too cold, he could darken his body to absorb sun faster and warm up faster. If he's feeling too hot, he can lighten his body and reflect sun faster, or even go into the shade as he's doing that, right? But another reason is emotion. Yes, expression. Feelings, how they feel, mood. So really it's mood. It's going to be how they feel. So if he's feeling stressed, if he's feeling upset, he might turn one color. If he's feeling super chill, he might change another color. If he's sleeping, he might be one color. If he's awake, he might be another color. And guess what? They actually see more colors than we do. So he could be telling me all sorts of things that I can't even see, right? But yes, definitely mood change and emotions. Temperature change, and communication in general, but it's not to blend into things. If it was to blend into things, he would either be totally purple, or he would be, see, purple backdrop, or he would be brown, like the branches, but he's neither. He's kind of a blue, and he's got like purplish maroon stripes, because he can have reddish colors and purple colors and blue color for this subspecies. For other species, or subspecies, I should say, of panther chameleon or other species of chameleon, they change different colors. So it just kind of depends on their species and subspecies of what color changing abilities they have. Isn't that cool? And Mbanja panther chameleon is what this guy is. His name is Thanos. When he was a young guy, he was mostly purple, some blue, and he's just eventually turned more blue than purple now. But also he's very similar to Thanos. He's kind of a jerk. He likes to be alone. He's got a big wrinkly chin. And even though Thanos is a villain, we still love Thanos. Thanos is one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. A very impressive gentleman. Or guy, I should say. You're not really a gentleman, are you? Now, Thanos, the chameleon, we love him anyway, even though he's kind of crazy. Let's see if we can focus on his little face there for you guys. Look at that. Look at the eye. So his eye is actually kind of a golden color. Can you see the actual colored part of his little eye there? He's also got a sheath over his eye, which is very unique to chameleons. Chameleons use, oh, sorry, buddy. They use I bumped him there. They use their muscles and a sheath over the eye like that has a little peephole for them to see through, right? But that's how they turn their eyes in different directions. Chameleons have independently moving eyes, independent from each other. One eye can be looking one direction all over, and one eye can be looking another. Now, a lot of people do desire chameleons for pets. I cannot discourage you enough from getting a chameleon for a pet. They are terrible pets. First of all, they usually don't like to be handled or even looked at. That's not a good pet at all. But some chameleons, even when they are okay with that, they're still not good pets. Depending on their personality, some are actually okay with it. But most chameleons still, even if they're chill chameleons, right, they're still terrible pets. They get sick quite often. They're just very fragile that way. They can get illnesses and not show you signs until it's too late, which is terrible. If you even are super experienced, you may miss those signs sometimes. I do sometimes, I will admit. We take them to the vet when they need it, right? And it can get quite expensive. Our chameleons visit the vet more than any other animal in our collection because they tend to sometimes have injuries, they sometimes get sick, etc. We've had chameleons for years and years and years. I've been keeping chameleons a long, long time, many different species, and that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. They're kind of like birds. Birds are really similar. They're just fragile animals, for a reptile especially. So reptiles in general are pretty hardy animals. Lizards tend to just be a little less healthy than like snakes and tortoises and those guys. If you take care of your reptile in general, they're going to be healthier. But, you know, as a fragile animal, they're still going to have issues. So they have a lot of health issues. It's really hard to get their light, heating, and humidity, and even aeration or ventilation correct. If you get all of those 100% correct, you're still going to have a sick chameleon sometimes. So you just have to be prepared for that. They're quite expensive to house, they're quite expensive to feed, and they're quite expensive for vet care. So they're just really a terrible pet. They also just don't do well generally. Like I said, they stress out, etc. They're literally one of my favorite animals on the planet, but I don't like to recommend them for anyone, even advanced reptile keepers. So proceed with caution. If you really, really, really want one, please do a ton of research. Ask so many people that you know about their care. Make sure and set them up really well, and you'll have a much easier time than if you don't. But you still may have a hard time. It just kind of depends. Also, it's really important to support only captive bred chameleons or rescue chameleons. Please do not support the importation of wildlife, right? We want to make sure not to take them out of the wild. Plus, you really don't want a wild caught chameleon. We have a rescue chameleon that just came in recently. I don't know if he'll ever be on the live stream though, because he's extremely fearful of literally anything. Anytime I walk into the room, he's hiding. He wants to hide. If I step out of the room, he might be basking in the sunlight of his, little lamp that we gave him and everything. But, which is good. I'm glad he's doing okay. But he does not like to be seen. Certainly doesn't like to be touched or looked at. So maybe we'll just take some pictures of him for you when he feels comfortable with that and post them. But he is definitely probably not going to be a traveling animal ambassador. He might turn around and have a change of heart. This guy can go to a couple of different scenarios. We typically don't take him to lengthy animal events or anything like that. So we wouldn't take him to like a festival. We wouldn't take him to anything like that. We would take him maybe to a classroom where things are quickly over. He might do virtual stuff like this. And that's really it. We've had other chameleons that were a lot more tolerant of that, but he's just not at all. He's hates it. So we just do it minimally, right? But he's very healthy, very, very good. He's never had too many problems. The only issue we had with him was he did need a little bit of extra vitamin A. Vitamin A deficiency, or just less than they have, can actually show itself in eye issues. He started having a little winky eye, so we took him to the vet, of course, and they determined that it was a vitamin A problem. So we were able to correct that. He's just fine now. He's very healthy. But that stuff does happen. Some health issues with chameleons might include vision issues. Remember, they don't have ears, so the vision is their everything. So anything where their eye is shut, or even where they're sleeping too much during the day, or maybe too many eye boogers, or scratch in the eye, of course, anything like that, that can really be a big problem for them. Another one is going to be breathing issues. These guys have extra sensitive respiratory systems. So you have to have lots of ventilation, but also high humidity, which is really hard to get right. They typically don't have a ton of skin issues, but I know they can. They're pretty healthy as far as their skin goes. They need the proper vitamins and minerals to be healthy and not have brittle bones. I mean, you name it, they've got that disease. They've got that issue. So they're just really difficult. I don't recommend anybody to get a chameleon. They're really hard. They're not an easy pet at all. It's almost like keeping like flowers or orchids or something like that. You have to get it just right. 3 millimeters per second. JK. Just ignore that comment. All right. Well, Thanos is ready to say goodbye. I think he is. We're going to get one more cool shot of him. I'm going to be sneaky about it so he doesn't get upset. Oh, he's so cute. We love him even though he's cranky. They're neat animals, you guys. Again, we're talking about colorful critters today. We met, of course, Thanos, the panther chameleon. We also met our Chinese beauty snake earlier. That was Long, which is Mandarin for dragon. That's his name. And then we met our 2 tortoise friends, right? We met Shelton and Rocket. And Shelton and Rocket are red-footed tortoises. I dare say the friendliest 2 were the red-footed tortoises, but also the messiest 2. They also have their challenges with keeping them happy and healthy. Tortoises live a long, long time, so it's a huge commitment. That species that we just met, the red-footed tortoise, those guys can live 60 to 70 years. Panther chameleons and other chameleons don't live very long, and that's the natural way of things since they have so many health issues, even in the wild or in human care. These guys usually make it to around 5 to 7 years. Very short life expectancy for a reptile, but still not a great pet. Health issues galore and stress issues and all sorts of things. Expensive, not a thing for most keepers. And snakes, my favorite to keep, very easy to keep, and still a big commitment, right? Because most snakes do live a long time as well. Chinese beauty snakes, I think they can live into their upper 20s. That's a long time. Not as long as the tortoise, but it's a long time. So we don't necessarily recommend these guys for pets, but certainly animal encounters. If you guys want to meet one, we can accommodate you there, and you can just borrow ours for a little bit, right? By hiring us for your own personal animal encounter. Great for classrooms, great for virtual or in-person classrooms, right? Virtual or in-person gatherings of any sort, like a birthday party, animal therapy session, or corporate event, petting zoo. We offer all sorts of different services. If you want more information and you just want to learn more about what we do, you can visit onceinaWilds.com. If you would like more information, make sure and follow us on social media and subscribe, obviously, to stay in touch with us and to stay, trying to figure out what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Amanda, you can't talk today. But also you can give us a call or a text or an email, and we can get right back to you if we don't answer right away. But usually we do. But you can request a call back or an email back and get more information that way about something specific, like a special event you have coming up or our pricing and things like that. One way or another, you can get a hold of us, but please don't forget to subscribe and follow on all your favorite social medias. We're probably there. Look for Once in a Wild or Once in a Wild Zoo. Once in a Wild Zoo over on TikTok and Instagram, and Once in a Wild everywhere else. And please don't forget to support us in those free ways. And if you would like to support us in the not so free ways, we have Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and our Amazon wish list, as well as booking your own virtual or in-person animal encounter. Well, I think it's time to say goodbye. We're going to play our goodbye song, our theme song, and we will see you guys next time, whenever that may be. Remember, we're going to be changing things up to once a month. We will still play reruns for you guys, okay? So one way or another, we'll see you next time. Bye. We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. That's the fun for me and you. Okay, you guys, thank you for watching the program tonight, and we hope to see you guys next time, whenever that may be. We hope to see you at some in-person events coming up soon. Don't forget to check out onceinawild.com for all those events coming up, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.